Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Media. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Confederate Coffee Company. They make delicious coffee that supports Southern culture, Southern heritage. And if you want to check them out, highly recommend you do. The link will be in the description of this video and permanently in my links section on the channel. Without further ado, let's head off to Boston to see where they imprisoned the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens. Hey guys, welcome to Rebel Media. Today I'm out here in Boston, Massachusetts. Came out here to visit some family, and I had to get one history trip in, so we're headed to George's Island. We're taking the ferry here. There's a famous fort there where many famous guys were locked up, including the Vice President of the Confederacy, Mr. Alexander Stephens. So, it should be cool. Let's check it out. We made it on board. Not a lot of people on here, which is cool. I'm gonna grab a seat right here and enjoy the ride. Fort Warren was originally named after Dr. Joseph Warren, who was killed during the Battle of Bunker Hill in 1775. Located on George's Island at the entrance to Boston Harbor, Fort Warren served as a prison for 2,300 Confederate officers and government officials during the Civil War. The depot of rebel prisoners, they like to call it. It was known for its humane treatment of the prisoners, and it was one of the strongest coastal fortifications ever built in the United States. It also served as a training ground for Union troops.
Enjoy your visit with us today. Please stop by our visitor center for more information about Fort Warren and a short movie about the history of the
ships. This is Quincy Grant. Thousands of tons have been brought across the harbor of Quincy, Massachusetts.
Unused since its creation in 1850. In the spring of 1861, Fort Warren is garrisoned for the first time. Hundreds of Massachusetts militiamen train and live here. Farm boys, clerks, scholars. The fort also receives its first installment of artillery, and throughout the war, it is heavily armed with 10 and 15-inch Rodman cannons.
Troops stationed out here for training had a private John Brown in their midst. Teasing him, they created a marching zone based on John Brown, the abolitionists.
So they started building this fort after the War of 1812. They needed coastal defenses. They did them all the way up and down the eastern seaboard. This place, though, took all its granite from Braintree and tracked it in here, and it's really pretty impressive. I think it's important to mention the Trent Affair, which happened in the fall of 1861 when Confederate President Jefferson Davis dispatched diplomats James Mason and John Slidell to secure European recognition of the Confederacy, but they were captured by the Union Navy aboard the English ship Trent en route to England, and they were imprisoned here at Fort Warren. So I'm standing outside what would have been the hospital. So the Confederates would come here and go here for care. People had typhoid and a bunch of other, whatever ailments were going on, but one of the prisoners was a doctor himself. His name was Charles McGill, and he helped treat the prisoners alongside with the Union doctors, so that's interesting. Just imagine this room here being filled up with sick men, wounded men. Pretty amazing to think about. So it wasn't just Confederate prisoners here. There were Union deserters here. Some of them tried to escape. Somewhere around here there's an execution point where they shot them. But on these walls back here, supposedly they would use hot coals to burn them out and, get the granite soft and loose or whatever, and then they jumped out. It looks like I could go straight to the sea, or we can check out in here. I think we're gonna go in here and see what's going on. It's pretty wet in here and it's pretty dark. No sign of the jail cell of Alexander Stevens, but I was on a mission to find it. Stevens was the highest profile prisoner held by the Union at Fort Warren. He was captured on May 11, 1865, and held until October 13, 1865. He kept a diary of his imprisonment here, and it was published after his death. In years after the war, he served as a congressman from Georgia, and then as the governor of Georgia. There's another cool thing about Fort Warren. Fort Warren was named after Paul Revere's doctor who told him to go on his famous ride. Another cool story about this place is that it's supposedly haunted by the Lady in Black. Well, guys, it's time for a ghost story. The Lady in Black, otherwise known as Melanie Lanier. She was a southern gal from Georgia. She found out that her husband had been imprisoned on the island. So she took it upon herself to make the trek all the way to Hull, Massachusetts, and got in a small boat and rowed out to the island. She made it undetected and whistled a familiar tune, where she found her husband, and her husband whistled back. They were able to sneak her up into the cell with the other Confederate prisoners. She brought only a pistol and was dressed as a man. She had cut her hair short, and on the night she tried to escape with her love, a Union guard heard them. She pulled her pistol, and he slapped it away, but in the confusion, she shot her husband dead. For her crimes, she was sentenced to hang, and her only request was that she was given some female clothes to wear, because she was dressed as a man. Well, all they could find were some black robes, so they gave her the black robes, and she was hung. And to this day, from park rangers to visitors to all sorts of different accounts, the Lady in Black is seen wandering the island, forever sad and longing for her lost husband. They say she's been here haunting this place ever since, feeling guilty about how she got her husband killed. Well, how she killed her husband. And there's multiple reports. Now, I've gone online and I've looked to see, there's some people saying it's not true. A bunch of people say it's true. But one thing's for sure, from policemen to guards and park rangers, many people have accounts of seeing things out of the ordinary. I haven't seen her yet, but I'll keep my eye out. this talks about how Alexander Stevens was imprisoned here, but I don't know if this is the exact place he was at, but it could be. Well, I talked to the park ranger, and I guess indeed in this room here is where Alexander Stevens is. The whole place is open, but this one isn't. I mean, not the whole place, but most of it. You can really explore almost everything, but in here you can't, and I guess that's where he was. So sorry, gang, but in there was where he was held. Out here is the parade grounds, or where the men would train. The Union soldiers trained out here, and also became a place for the prisoners to hang out. I heard they were playing soccer and all sorts of stuff out here. Back here is the Confederate officer section. They were allowed pretty free reign, because a lot of these guys, they all knew each other from West Point at the beginning of the war. And the prisoner held here was actually the guy who surrendered Fort Donelson in Tennessee. Right now we're standing outside the mess hall and bakery. Gonna go in there, see what's going on. It's cool that this fort is so well preserved, but it's missing a lot of information as to what these rooms were, and I think it would be better if there was more information. Well, we just walked through a whole cool area. It could have been offices, it could have been prisons, who knows. Behind me are the housing quarters for both Confederates and Union soldiers. Both live back here. I was just reading the sign over there, and there's a lot of tension between North and South, and the Union would taunt the Confederates and sing John Brown's Body, which then later turned into Battle Cry of Freedom. That all started right here. And the other cool thing, they said there was a chapel here, and that the Southerners went to it daily. That's what it was saying. We can see here up on this picture, this is some of the Confederate prisoners all just hanging out right where we're standing. Well, a little peek won't hurt us, right guys? I guess there was a chapel and a library. Guys, apologize for the bad lighting. I don't even know if this is going to show up, but we are inside the fort and there is no light. And my favorite friends at the TSA confiscated my flashlight again. So, the cell phone light is all it's going to have to do. There's a big hole up there, a little hole for a chimney. You see the light on the floor maybe? I don't know. You guys can see any of this, but wow. Light. Back where we started. It's not just a Civil War fort, it's also a fort that was used during World War II. And out here, this would have been used as a gun tower. Fire your rifle or whatever out of here, but it was never used. Here's another genius. Some of you guys might know this as a water fountain, but in Massachusetts, they call it a bubbler. Alright gang, I only have 2 complaints. Number 1, you should totally be able to see Alexander Stevens' area where he was held. He's the most famous guy on the island. You can go in everywhere else almost. You should be able to see him. Secondly, the visitor center, there's no t-shirts and no stickers, no magnets, nothing. And you know how I am about a visitor center. A good visitor center is a very important thing. Doesn't need to be too much, but this is too little. So Gettysburg has too much, this doesn't have enough. But the rest of the place is really cool, and you guys have got to come out here and check it out if you ever get the chance to. Until next time guys, thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.